Good morning, New Prague area community and New Prague area schools. Welcome to the 7th edition of Supt Talk. We've got some wonderful guests today, both students and staff, and we're very excited to bring you Supt Talk on this February 10th, 2015. Good morning, Mr. Dittberner.
Good morning.
We'd like to start out with just a couple questions. I was at the school board meeting on Monday night, and the school board did vote on our referendum, and one question. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the school board approved a resolution, a 7-0 vote, to move ahead with a bond referendum that will include renovation to the CEC building, addition and renovation to the middle school, indoor swimming pool, demolition of the 1923 portion of the CEC, and possibly an additional building for transportation to get all vehicles under one building there. So the vote will take place on May 5th of this spring, and the total cost of the bond referendum will be $58,480,000. So there's information on our website. There'll be obviously a story this week in the New Prague Times on that. And I'll be meeting with groups in the coming months, talking about what all that entails. We think it's something. It's been a very community-driven process with the task force looking at all the information and trying to decide what's best, what it needs for our future educational needs. And we think it's something that meets the needs of toddlers all the way up through senior citizens. So. We'll be presenting more information about that in the coming months.
All right, well, that's very exciting for the school district and the community. Anytime we start talking February or March in high school and athletics or activities, we're kind of starting to wind down to tournament time a little bit and getting towards the end of the seasons. I do know some of the ones that started a little bit earlier this year: dance, one-act play, hockey. Some of those, can you kind of give us an idea of where some of our extracurricular activities are at?
In the past 4 or 5 years, the winter activities we've done very well, and very proud of the accomplishments of all of our student participants. Fortunately, dance team has had a wonderful year. They ended up finishing 4th in the jazz division. They needed to be in the top 3 to get to state, so this past Saturday it was tough, but they had a great season. One-act play finished 2nd in the section, and if you ever saw their performance, it was absolutely outstanding, and you know, they did very well. Girls hockey was the number 2 seed in the section, and they lost a tough game to Northfield this past weekend too. So sort of some tough defeats there, but I will say this: besides the success of those 3 programs, boys and girls basketball, boys hockey, gymnastics, wrestling, every one of those teams have a very good shot to get to state. They'll all be, all those teams will probably be either the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed in their section. So next couple of weeks is going to be very interesting, and we're just very excited to see how they're doing.
Well, that speaks very well for our winter athletics and winter activities that we have going on, and some of our guests today are involved in club sports also. So there's a lot of wonderful things going on, and you can always visit our website and check out those types of activities that are going on. We've got the schedules right on there. One more thing, Mr. Dittberner, and I've been around here long enough to have met this person, Ron Johnson. It was in the paper this last weekend. We lost one of our alumni. You being a basketball coach also for a couple of years here in New Prague, can you tell us a little bit about Mr. Johnson, how he'll be missed?
Oh, he will be. I was able to meet him one time at a state tournament when his nephew was playing for Little Falls, and we were in the state tournament. When you say Ron Johnson, when people, Ron Johnson, people think New Prague. He was very well known. He was one of the leading scorers ever to play in the boys state basketball tournament in the late 1950s. Went on to have a great career at the University of Minnesota, and then played professional basketball, and ended up moving up to St. Cloud, becoming an attorney. But he's been in several Hall of Fames, and just a great person from everything I know about him. And it was sad. We had a moment of silence before the boys basketball game the other night, and I know he'll be missed, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family.
I think it was about 10 years ago he spoke at our athletic banquet that we had. Mr. Scripture had him in and gave a very nice message to young kids about staying involved and being involved in lots of activities. So we will be right back with our first three guests. Welcome back to Supt Talk, and we're here with three of our New Prague High School's finest. We are talking about some club activities today. We have archery club and also trap shooting represented. So I welcome Ben Dietz, Callie Schroeder, and Megan Vikla. So we'd like to welcome all three of you today, and thank you very much for being on our Supt Talk show. Ben, why don't we just start out with you and just tell us a little bit about yourself, and we can just work all the way down to Megan when you're done.
Well, I'm a junior at New Prague. I have a brother and a sister. Just ready to shoot, really.
Okay, so why don't you tell us exactly what club it is that you're involved in?
I'm involved in the Minnesota Clay Target League, and New Prague has a team in that league, and we shoot every Saturday for competition practice.
Okay, we'll get to that in a little bit more also. Callie, how about you?
Hi, I'm Callie Schrader. I've been a part of the archery team for about 7 years-ish. I have a brother. That's it.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Megan Vikla. I'm in the archery club, and this is my second year in it. And I'm also involved in volleyball, cheerleading, and track at the high school.
Well, welcome all three of you, and Mr. Dittberner, I know, has got some good questions for you.
Well, Ben, I think a lot of people don't understand trap shooting, but how long have you been involved in it, and what exactly, could you give maybe just a simple description of what the competition looks like?
Sure. Well, I've been in it for 4 years now. Normal competition, you shoot at 100 targets, and you just shoot from the 16-yard line. It comes out of a trap box in front of you. You're 16 yards away, one at a time. Okay.
And then Ben, of course, he was state champion last year, and we had our team took first in state, and it's I think it's the fastest growing sport right now in the Minnesota State High School League right now.
Yeah, it is.
And how many kids do we have right now involved in it approximately, would you say?
In New Prague, we had 60 last year. We'll probably have around 80 this year.
All right.
So.
And besides trap shooting, archery, again, another real fast-growing sport going on, not just in New Prague, but throughout the nation, Minnesota, and everything. Why don't you talk, Megan and Callie, about the number of kids that are involved, elementary, middle school, and high school, and just talk about what the competition looks like, too.
All right, well, we have a youth, an elementary, a middle school, and a high school team. The youth shoots only a couple tournaments a year, but they're pretty small, so it's understandable. And then our middle school and high school team have done really well these last couple of years, and we too have grown a lot over these last 3 years, I think. Mm-hmm. We've almost doubled the numbers.
We do practices once a week, and for archers who have been in it more than 1 year, they can also do Thursday night practices. And how many kids are in it? A lot. There's a lot.
A lot of kids. Yeah. Yeah, I was up at the competition this past Saturday. New Prague had an invitational, so to speak, a meet, right? Yep. And I don't know how many teams are here, but this place was packed. And then we had the waffle breakfast going on, so it was a neat thing. And someone called me and said, I wonder if they could walk around the track. I said, you never know. No. They had that. Never might have an errant shot, right? Ben, let's talk about trap shooting. You said for the clay targets, 100 clay targets. So, I mean, you're one of the best in the state. So, what's your accuracy?
Well, I average around 96 or 97 out of 100. I've shot quite a few 100 straights. Still looking for the 200 straight, but it'll come pretty soon.
Okay. Girls, how about you? Shooting at a target. You guys are one of the top ones. I mean, what does it take to win a competition? Kelly, you were #1 in the state last year. I mean, how accurate do you have to be?
I don't know. I'd say up in the 270s or higher to place, at least in the girls' division, individual. I don't know. It's been kind of rough these last couple of years. The numbers keep just climbing, and this year at our home tournament, what won first was a 292.
Wow.
And that is 8 points away from a perfect score.
So like hitting that small bullseye
Yep.
pretty
Yeah.
much every time.
Yep.
All right.
And Kelly, what was your score this weekend?
This weekend I got a 289.
That was good for second place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you got second place this week. All right. Ben, why don't you talk about the competitions that you have? How many you have, and what does it look like this year?
Well, we have 2 competitions. We have the class championship and then the state championship. New Prague's, they're looking pretty good. I know a lot of kids are really training for it this year, and we're going to get better. We'll probably get to state.
Okay, and when is state at?
State's in early part of June. So
Is that the one in Alexandria?
No, I think state's in Minneapolis Gun Club, which
Oh, it
is in
is.
Prior Lake. Or
Okay.
at least it was last year.
All right, and then where do you guys practice at?
We practice at the Horse and Hunt Gun Club.
Okay, in Prior Lake.
Yep.
All right. And how about competition archery? Where are we at right now in the season?
It's getting harder, a lot harder. The scores have really gone up.
So when do you have what meets do you have coming up, and when do you have like the state meet, stuff like that?
I don't know when state is. I think it's sometime in March.
I think it's about the end of March, and before that we have regionals too, and we have a few more tournaments coming up in the end of February and the beginning of March.
I do have a question for Megan. You just kind of started the archery club. This is your second year, and Callie said you're in it for at least 7, and Ben's been very involved also. So for you, Megan, just all of our viewers out there, and if there's some young people out there that are watching, what is it that you really enjoy about the archery club that, it brought you back that second year, got you even excited? Because, you're a 10th grader, so that was probably 8th grade or 9th grade when you did get started. So for all those viewers out there, what are the fun parts about being involved?
It's not hard to pick up, so you can be like me and just kind of start when you're in high school, and you can still do really well. And the people are really awesome. I like hanging out with my friends there, and yeah, I mean, it's just nice.
Okay.
Any other comments?
We really like to thank all 3 of you for coming in today to be on Supt Talk, and we talked about athletics and activities within the New Prague school system, and we're very excited to have you 3 here today to talk about your club activities. As Mr. Dittberner said, both very fast growing, and you are wonderful ambassadors for those clubs, and there'll be a lot of young kids who are going to, sounds like, continue and will fill in behind you. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back to the second half of our Supt Talk. We're here with middle school teacher and head girls basketball coach, Mr. Ron Gunderson. Welcome, Mr. Gunderson.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're very excited to have Mr. Gunderson today, Coach Gunderson. He has been given a very prestigious award called Breaking Barriers Award that Mr. Dittberner is going to talk to him about, and we just welcome you. So, Mr. Dittberner?
Yeah, last Wednesday, Coach Gunderson was recognized at the Minnesota History Center we had Women and Girls in Sports Day, and received a nice honor. You want to just talk about that? And
It was a very nice honor. It was, Brad Skogabo nominated me for that, and it was a surprise. I all of a sudden got an email that said I had received this award, and I wasn't quite sure what I had done, just kind of sticking around. But it was really nice to be there, to be with those folks that kind of started things out and that had a great history with women's athletics here. And to talk to them and to, reminisce a little bit, and see how far we've come, since the beginning.
Now, I was talking to you last week after you were at the Breaking Barriers Award ceremony. You want to just talk, it just really struck me what you said about, what you found out, or just listening to other people that were nominated speak about girls and women's in sports, how it's come along.
Yeah, I don't think that we really started with the idea that they were girls or they were boys. I mean, that's one of the things that struck me, is that Myron Glass down at Rochester Lords was talking to me, and he just mentioned that he was a young teacher down at Rochester, and he had a group of girls that came into his room after school one day, and they said, we'd like to run track. Would it be okay if we ran track? And he just said, sure, why not? And so he had a track practice. 70 kids showed up for the first track practice. And he didn't really say that it was because they were girls or whatever, but they just were kids that wanted to run in track. And for all of us that were a part of it, I guess the thing is that, why not? Why can't they? And so I think when we get to true equality is when we don't look at the gender or race or creed or whatever. We just look at doing the right thing for the right reasons, regardless of all the differences that might be there. And that was one thing that struck me, is that it just started out, we just wanted to coach. I know that's what I started out at. And I coached girls basketball, but I coached football, and it wasn't really any different.
Now, I know this, obviously working at the middle school, being the principal there. I mean, Ron, you're a teacher first. You take great pride in that, and you do a wonderful job. But also that being a coach, 39 years, 630 wins, 12 conference championships, 8 section championships, and a state title in 2000. Facebook lit up when we announced that you got that award on Facebook and Twitter. You had a lot of great athletes. You just want to comment on just how the time you've been involved and the lives you've influenced, and what makes you tick? What makes you keep going for 39 years?
Well, and that was something that I started to think about too when I was in St. Paul and talking to these other folks too, is that, we always hear, when we first started with the girls basketball program, Title IX had just come in. And so it was not just morally and ethically wrong to treat kids differently, but it was also legally now. But we always said in our program that we're going to earn what we get. We're not going to, it's going to be hard for somebody to say no, because we just simply earned it. Mm-hmm. And that's been kind of the driving force in our program here, is that, we're going to work hard, we're going to do the things we need to do, we're going to keep our nose clean and do well in the classroom. And anything that we get, it's because we've earned it, not been given it. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, regardless, boy, girl, whatever, the wins will come. The wins, because the kids are putting some time in, and they're dedicated, they're disciplined, they're doing the kinds of things that are necessary to be successful. And that's where all the other stuff comes from. It comes from having that kind of an attitude. As far as staying in for 39 years, I think as the older you get, the faster things go. It doesn't seem like 39 years, but I didn't break any barriers. I mean, I didn't. It's been the kids. We could talk for a long time about the things that they've had to go through, and it hasn't been terrible, but just things that were different. And they didn't care. They just played because they loved play. I think they play, maybe girls play for a different reason than the guys even, They have it right. And when you're with kids that are trying to break barriers that they should never have to break to begin with, it's inspirational. Mm-hmm. You're hanging around a group of kids that are just, they won't say no, and no excuses, no alibis. Okay, this is the way it is. Let's do what we can do to be successful. And that's a lesson in athletics in general. Yep. It's not going to be fair out there. Mm-hmm. And you might as well get used to that and do what you can do, and no excuses, and keep pushing on. So,
I was at your game the other night against Orono, who was ranked #1 in the state. New Prague was 3 or 4, whatever it was. I mean, you've had a great season. That was one of the best basketball games, boys or girls,
thanks.
I've seen all year. Up and down the court, you get two great teams. Not playing perfectly, but that was wonderful basketball. We want to talk about the team and just how you're coming along this year. And
These are great kids. You know, we have great kids here, and this group of seniors has got great leadership. They've been together from kindergarten, you know, and they not only like to play basketball together, but they hang around, you know, outside of school together. They're friends. They really do want each other to be successful, and that kind of camaraderie is really the driving force. You know, I don't think you're going to have a championship caliber team if they aren't championship caliber people first, and these kids certainly are. It's just from a basketball standpoint, we are very athletic. These kids are very athletic. They work so hard. I mean, it's just like I was talking to somebody last night. We were at Hill Murray, and it was just like junkyard dogs. I mean, you know, they were going out there and just going like crazy, and they play together well. They share the ball. They're athletic, and they love the game. They love the game. You know.
how about you know, there's been a lot of talk this year, the change in our conference. You're in the Wright County Conference. I think at first, I don't care if it's football or whatever sport you want to talk, hockey, basketball, everyone thought, well, it's not going to be as strong or as tough or competitive. You know, I know it's a little bit longer, the trips, but you want to talk about the Wright County and girls basketball?
This is as tough a conference as I can remember ever being in. You know, top to bottom. I think in the east side of the Wright County that we're in, I think that's what it's called, isn't it, the east side? There are 5 rated teams, and they are very good. You know, Orono's #1, Delano's rated, Waconia is beating people, Hutchinson is rated. You know, we're rated. Every night out, it's just unbelievable. I mean, if you don't play hard, if you don't play well, you're going to get beat, and you could get beat soundly. So from that standpoint, the competitiveness, it's been even better than ever.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
in girls basketball, I can't speak for others.
And non-conference, a tough non-conference schedule. I talked to Brian Cosrup from Hopkins on Saturday. I saw him at my daughter's game, was talking to him. He said, you're the only one that calls Hopkins to schedule a game.
Yeah, we love to play them. You know, I mean, that's what these kids love to do too. I mean, if we didn't get to play Hopkins, they'd be disappointed. You know, because it brings out the best in you know, to go against the best. And we haven't had a lot of success winning and losing, but we always give them a game. And that's one thing that Brian had said to us, is that he saw me this summer when we were at a tournament, and he said that you know, New Prague is the team that will always come at us and give us their best shot and give us a game. So, and that's a great compliment to our kids.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, Ron, I've been here long enough it's 39 years, and I've been in New Prague for 20 years. So half of your career, and had the honor to work with you as a football coach, and you helped me get started, working together and being my offensive coordinator, and meeting in my basement a few times and going way back. So you taught me a lot.
Thank you.
And were definitely a mentor to me. When you're around for 39 years, you've mentored a lot of people, but has there been one person or persons out there that maybe was a mentor to you, not only as a coach, but even as a teacher too, back when you were getting started, or you know, somebody that you really respect now?
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that have had an influence. My basketball coach in high school, Lynn Cravey, was a really a good coach. And you know, hard to believe, but I was a little stubborn when I was younger. And you know, he put up with more than he maybe should have, but he taught me a lot. Not about the game of basketball, but also about showing up every day. You know, show up every day. You know, I wasn't a very good offensive player, but I worked too hard to not play. And he said, as long as you do that, you'll be fine. So, you know, you get that work ethic thing. When I first came here, Paul Flick was the principal that I started with, and just to watch him come to work every day and do the things that you normally wouldn't think he would have to do, and so on, and to put the kind of time and the effort in. And what I learned from him was, in terms of leadership, that people will follow where you lead, but they aren't going to follow where you point. So if you want to be a real leader, you better show up, and then they will come too. And that's, if I want kids to participate in the off season, I'd better be there. you know, rather than saying, well, you guys go here and you guys go there. Bob Scripture was the AD that I worked for a long time. And he and I were thinking along the same lines a lot. And it wasn't that, I didn't want Bob to give our program anything, but I wanted to get it if we earned it. And that's the way he operated. If you earned it, you were going to get whatever you needed to have. And he had your back. You know, when you're a head coach, or you know, in this day and age, you probably take a couple of shots now and then, you know. But he had your back, and if you did something wrong, he told you about it. But if you did something right, he would be there for you. There's a lot of folks. Tim and I worked together for 10 years at the middle school, and I think we had the same kind of ideas and stuff. And I learned a lot from Tim too. That even if, you know, you do the right thing, even if it might be not be the most popular thing, you know, even if you might get a little heat for it now and then, but you keep your focus on what is good for kids, and what are we here for? And that's a simple little, you know, job title. You know, we're here for those kids, and Paul Flick said the same thing. You know, do what's best for kids in anything that you're doing with the kids. And if that's what you're trying to do, even if you make a mistake, it's an honest mistake.
Yep.
You know.
And I'd say at our school board, we have a wonderful school board, and that comment was made by one of our school board members the other night. We were talking to bond referendum. I mean, it applies to all areas, but when you're in this business, you can't forget you're in the people business, and that's what matters the most. And when it comes to mattering the most of everyone, it is what we're doing for kids. So I just want to say I appreciate all you've done.
Thank you.
For New Prague schools on the teaching side and obviously the coaching side, making a difference in kids' lives, and want to wish you the best.
Thanks.
As we wind up the season here, and as we're going through the final stretch here. I know the kids will continue to play hard and give it their best shot, and whatever happens, happens. They've had a great season, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you very much. These are great kids. I'm just having a ball. I don't feel as old as I am.
Or luck. No, just
yeah, well, luck. Yeah. Well, he said we all look pretty good up here. So.
Well, we thank Mr. Gunderson for being with us today, and we thank our first three students that were on the panel for being with us today. We truly have a lot of wonderful kids within the school district, which we always talk about, but it also takes teachers and coaches to help bring out the best in all of our kids. So for that, we thank you, Ron, and we thank you for being with us today. That wraps up our 7th episode of Supt Talk. This Saturday is Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to the community out there and everybody that's watching. I would ask that if you would like to stay tuned, we do have a short video celebrating our coronation and snowball of 2015, which happened a week and a half ago. So stay tuned for a short video. Thank you very much.
Trappings of love, I'll be captivated. I'll hang from your lips instead of the gallows of heartache that hang from above. I'll be your crying shoulder. I'll be the suicide. Survival, you're my living proof. My love is alive and not dead. the trappings of love. I'll be captivated. I'll hang from your lips instead of the gallows of heartache that hang from above. And I'll be your crying shoulder. I'll be the suicide